Okay, we are back live. I'm Mark Little with CareQuest Solutions. Today, I'm happy to have Tom and Tonya Byrd with Keller Williams to join me on today's show and share a little bit about their life and their story. So, Tom, Tonya, welcome aboard.
Well, first of all, thanks. We're thrilled to be here.
Yes, thank you.
It's awesome. And we all, of course, met through the senior niche meetings. There's like 5 a month now or something like that all over the
Yes.
place.
There's a few.
But Jeff Waddy is with me, and he had mentioned you guys, and that's how we met. So really glad that you guys have came on. So let's just kick it off. And if you guys would, just tell me a little bit about yourselves. Let's get to know you and what you do and how you got started in real estate.
I was the first one to get started in real estate. Coming from a corporate environment, never felt like I fit in that corporate environment. I decided real estate would be a good go. So we moved to Texas, and I got my license in 2008, and took me about a year and a half before I discovered Keller Williams, which is an awesome brokerage to be associated with. We moved back to Georgia in 2015 because we wanted to get closer to family, being originally from Tennessee. And Georgia was like, oh, you got your Texas license. Here's your Georgia license. So it was very easy to get the license here in Georgia. And then Tom joined me around 2019 because I think he got tired of the corporate.
Well, I was with the same company doing third-party global logistics for about 20 years, and it just needed a change. Tried something else with my own business for a minute, didn't quite like that, got my license, and I guess you could say the rest is history. Going on 4 years now.
I can relate to I cannot relate to the corporate world. I've been self-employed my whole life, and just the stories I hear, I wouldn't fit in with the corporate world. So I have to ask this: you guys you've been married how long now? Did you say?
A little over 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 25 years. That's some time under the belt. So what's it been like? And maybe I better be careful here. What's it been like working together? Because
she's in the room.
Okay. I'll talk to you later about that. But I think it's awesome to see a team like the two of you, and just we've had time to get to know each other and have lunches or whatever. And I think we all kind of share the same heartbeat. So that leads to one of the reasons that you're focusing on the senior living niche, kind of like the needs you're seeing in the market and the help that you can bring. Obviously, we're in business and we want to make money, but what I've noticed about the senior living niche across the board is you got to have a little bit of a heart to be involved in the space. And if you don't, it won't take long for people to see that. So share a little bit of what led to the focusing on the senior living niche.
We have a YouTube channel, and we have found that the buyers that get attracted to that YouTube channel want to move into our area. We really don't know if it's because a lot of seniors are on YouTube. I mean, apparently they are, since they're coming to us. Or if it's the area that we're in with Peachtree City and having the over 100 miles of golf cart paths and easy access and nice place to retire to, Georgia is. So
like a lot of things in life, we inadvertently backed into it.
Yes.
And a lot of clients come to us, and we woke up one day and it's like, you realize over half of our clients are retired.
Yeah.
And then it just made sense to specialize in that. Keller Williams, about a year and a half ago, started specialization groups. So we're in the seniors niche
community,
community with Keller Williams. So we have a big network of other like-minded individuals, and it's just something that we've comfortably, naturally evolved into.
So it's kind of it's something that Keller Williams has literally made a focus on as a company as well, which is good. Because as we're all experiencing and realizing, especially at my age, and we were talking earlier, our parents are getting older. And I know, Tom, you'd mentioned your parents were younger when they had you, so they're still in their 70s. And but me being the baby, mine are 91 and 92, and I'm thankful they're with us. But it brings on a slew of challenges, just finding yourself in that caretaking role, and that's part of the reason that I wanted to start this podcast is hopefully to be able to make a difference and have people stumble across the content and maybe have a topic that helps them out. And I think that's your YouTube channel there. Is that right for everybody?
Yes, it is. That's our YouTube channel. And of course, it's mainly around living in the Peachtree City area and some surrounding areas.
Excellent. So if anybody is in that area and comes across this, that would be their channel there. Does Peachtree City really have that many miles? I know they have a lot of golf cart, but is it that long?
It's 100 miles.
Golly, it doesn't surprise me in a way, because anytime we pass through, it's all over the place.
Oh yeah, and the funny thing is, I can't get lost in Peachtree City on the regular roads. I mean, I just know them, but because we don't have a golf cart, when we are on a golf cart, you can get lost like that because you're in the woods, and like we have to sort of stick our head out as I stick it out of the screen, stick it out to see the road, to sort of figure out where in the world we are.
Yeah, that's nuts. But it's a really cool community. Anyway, but speaking of which, I know you guys are aware of the new development that's coming in. They're fixing to break ground on in Peachtree City, and it's going to be a 55 all the way up to memory care. And it's a massive project. So I'm blown away about how much money has already been invested in what they have to promote it. They did all these little CGI, and you can literally see, it almost looks like it's already been built. So it's just amazing the money that companies are investing into senior living. And it's such a massive, massive thing. And I'm glad you guys are involved in it, because it's not going away. The next 20 years, it's going to grow and grow and grow, because 10,000 people a day are turning 65. And I think it's 15,000 people are turning 75. That's huge. And unfortunately, our culture, we move out, right? We don't have all our family live with us. A lot of cultures, they'll have the mom, dad, everybody lives together and all. But so with that said, what would be something that you would be unique about working with the two of you? What would set you apart a little bit?
Well, I would start with it's somewhat unique. The operative word being two. There's two of us. We like to say it's two for the price of one.
Right.
What you get a lot of times is similar to what happened today. So I was delivering Meals on Wheels. My route is on Thursdays. And one of the deals that I was working on, Tonya just jumped in and went and did the walkthrough with me today.
Awesome.
So we're able to, cover for each other.
That's awesome. And I just hearing you share that, there's more value than that. It's words that, I hear you saying, but having two for the price of one does have value, because just my real estate investment side of things that I've dabbled in, some agents just don't do much. They try to get the quote unquote listing or whatever, but they just list it. Like, okay, what else? But having the two of you, because life does happen, and it's nice that you got, a team approach. That in itself has huge value. But I want to ask you on the Meals on Wheels, how long have you been doing that?
Just a few months now. And we're really grateful to get involved with. It's the Fayette County Senior Center. Just really, really thrilled to be doing that and getting involved and meeting some, really great people.
I'm glad to hear you're doing it, because it's just like I joke and say I do Meals on Wheels for my mom and dad.
Yeah.
My wife cooks a couple of meals a week for them. And then we're always going and getting lunches, grocery store, and my other sisters, we're all pitching in and help. But I'm sure you see all sorts of things. Like there has to be moments to when you're doing the Meals on Wheels that it's can be sad when you see how people are living.
For sure. There can be some aspects of sadness, but the thing that gets me the most is the look of appreciation when you hand them a meal, and you realize that had I not done that, they might not have eaten in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Right. Which is go ahead.
That, and it's making sure that they're okay, right? Because they're in some areas where they may be living by themselves on walkers, and it would be awful if they were to fall and not be able to get up and nobody was coming by their house and nobody knew. So that's kind of like a just make sure you see them and make sure that they are still mobile and okay.
Yeah. Well, we all have heard those stories to where somebody would have died and they wasn't found for weeks, and you're just like, man, what a sad existence. And so like just watching, my mom and dad, they're blessed. We're all blessed to have a family close by, me and my sisters and all that. But it's still, you sit there and they're at that age that you just sit there and the highlight of their day is a meal sometimes, so when you're delivering that meal, not only are they thankful for the meal, but they're thankful to see another person just come drop by and have conversation. How you doing? So I commend you guys. That's just awesome that you're doing that. Don't take it lightly because it's the small things that do matter in people's lives, and that's awesome. But back to the real estate market. I know you guys have far more experience than I do in the real estate space, but just from the investment side, there's always ebbs and flows, right? In the market. And we all know the horror stories of 2008 and what caused that and led to that, et cetera. But it's still strange to try to keep up. That's the challenge I've been having is like, wow, it's weird how something could be worth something today and then something happens and now it's not worth as much. Or we went through this bidding war that didn't make sense to where you could accidentally make money. If you want to go, hey, I think I'm going to get into the wholesaling or flipping market, you could get a house and put, lipstick and makeup on it and have the after repair value, people pay more for it.
Yeah.
And then of course that ended.
We had clients that made money on land. Like
Wow.
They bought land right when the pandemic hit. And then they decided that they weren't going to build on land because
they found something else that they wanted.
Yeah, that and all the building prices went nuts. So and they couldn't build the house that they wanted to on the land, and they had owned it for about 6 months.
It was 6 to 8
months. And made a profit off of
like 250%. They got lucky because their parcel of land just happened to be next to a handful of parcels that this particular builder was building on, and he just overpaid for it.
Yeah,
because it was economies of scale for him and just a good opportunity. He'd make it back up on the house.
Yeah.
I got beat up on my last deal. I got quote unquote caught in the market, they say, right? To where the things were looking like good. And I got away from quote unquote the buy box. And so the market allowed me to be a little bit
forgiving.
And go, well, the way it is, we'll be good. So let's give a little bit more. And then we no more closed on the house, and they stayed. It took us 3 weeks to get them out of the house, which in those 3 weeks, the rates went up, then they went up again. So the ARV was, 325. And then the people that could afford payments on a 125,000 now could only afford a house that was 260 or so thousand. It was nerve wracking. So with that said, and I think this is a good thing to, what's the wrong thing there? What would be the biggest challenge that you guys are seeing in today's market? And especially when you're coming across a family that needs to place their loved ones into assisted living in today's market, what's some advice you would share and some things that people may need to start looking into because they're seeing that coming? They're going, okay, mom or dad or whatever. They're having these inner discussions of maybe it's time to go into assisted living. What challenges you guys seeing?
Well, one thing that we, see particular to serving this community is how properties are deeded. If you're dealing with people younger than us, the likelihood of one of them needing to go into a facility or passing away is pretty low. So it's something that people really don't worry about. However, with the senior community, I mean, we're all at some point going to die. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
the way that homes are deeded, especially when it's concurrent ownership between, two people, whether they're married or not, can create a real headache. I know we've run into that. If you want to share a story.
Sure. We've got 2 examples on the deed issues. The first one is the gentleman wanted to take care of his wife. He didn't think his wife needed to have her name on the deed.
Okay.
He set up a living trust. So that means that she can stay in the property so long as she is alive. And then he passed away. And really, the heirs to the property were the children. Well, if she has to go into some kind of assisted living community,
which she did,
right, then she can't sell that house and get the equity out of it to pay for it. So they actually had to go and contest the will, so that, because they knew his heart was in the right place. He wasn't doing it to be mean or to have malice, but they needed that. So they had the house, the will reversed, and got rid of the trust, and was able to get it in her name so they could sell and get the equity and help her get to her next community. The other thing that we have run into is, at one point before they changed the law, you could only have, and you're going to correct me on this, because it's tenants.
A joint tenancy.
Yes.
And there's 2 main ways in the state of Georgia that 2 people could take ownership of a home. One is joint tenancy, and the other is tenants in common.
Okay.
Joint tenancy has what we call the right of survivorship. That's how we own our home. If I were to perish, all of my interest automatically would go to Tonya. There's no will or anything like that.
Right.
Now, if we were tenants in common, then I would have to will my part to Tonya. It would have to go through probate before she could get ownership of the whole house.
Yeah.
Well, there didn't used to be this rights of survivorship law. So if you have somebody who bought their house in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and they don't have it done right as far as the deed goes, then when one of the spouses die, the estate's hanging out here, and the other spouse can't sell their portion or do anything with this portion over here until it's gone through probate, and that they say, like, yes, this person should be the one who inherits it. So we've seen that happen, where that probate can take 9 months.
Yes.
Probate can take a long time.
9 months.
And Tonya, that example you gave earlier, how long did that tie things up just with that?
It was 9 months for them.
Just for that one too. Okay.
And
you have to go to court and have the court,
change,
rule to change the will and all that.
Yeah, and the gentleman thought he had everything secure because he had a will, and he made sure it was great, and nobody went and looked at that deed to see, this could be a potential problem.
Right. Now's probably an important time to put the disclaimer that we are not lawyers.
We're true. Nor am I. No, we're just sharing layman experiences.
But that is another reason why it would be our recommendation to have an attorney that specializes in this field.
Yeah.
Look at everything, because their regular attorney was perhaps doing the will, didn't even think about that.
Well, it doesn't even know to think about it. Really, it's not his lane. But that's what it's already becoming such a common topic of trying to advise families to just start having these conversations. Just sit down with an elder care attorney, because mom and dad, they done a good job of, they had a will done, trust done, everything quote unquote by the book years back. And then one of my sisters unfortunately passed a couple years ago. And so it's like, hey, I think we may need to, because I started getting involved in the senior niche stuff. And I'm like, hey, things have changed. I think we may ought to revisit this to make sure we're avoiding probate. And sure enough, there was some things that needed to be addressed. So when you sit there and you're facing stories like you guys had just shared with that family, that's 9 months that could get in the way of someone moving into assisted living. So if if getting critical care, because quality of life at that age is important. It could add months to your life, having the right care and environment, et cetera. And I think I may be wrong here, but I think it's 2 years is the average overall length of life, when someone moves into assisted living. So that's almost a year of someone's life. And what happens if they're under financial hardship? They don't have the reserve or whatever, and they have to get the money from the sale of the house. Mm-hmm. That's the asset that they have. And everybody, and the laws have changed on trust. Mm-hmm. So I think you guys would agree, you can't stress enough of families having these awkward, uncomfortable conversations, because you either pay now or you pay later. Mm-hmm. Because if something happens and you're forced into probate or whatever, you got to pay. You got to address it to get cleared up. So anyway, I could talk a lot about that topic because it keeps coming up over and over and over. And I think that's all. We're, like you said, Tom, we're not attorneys, we're not lawyers, none of that stuff, but it's just advice of what we're experiencing and seeing.
Absolutely.
And trying to save families that stress and uncertainty, just like you guys are specializing in helping families sell their house. There's things that they need to start doing now. Is start decluttering your house.
Right.
Like start paying attention to the exit, because like you said, Tom, we're all going to die. Yeah. We could all three die before even my parents in 91 and 92 died, but
knock on wood, that doesn't happen.
Knock on wood, seriously. But I think it can't be stressed enough to just do it. Just get out there and have the conversations.
Right. And like I said, I think you should really go to someone that specializes in this and look at everything.
Yeah.
Look at your will, look at your deed. I know we talked about the horror stories, but on the other side of that coin, we've had multiple clients that their spouse had passed away. And when we pulled the deed, they were both on the deed, but because they had the joint tenancy, then all that they needed to do to be able to sell their house was provide the death certificate to the attorney.
Okay. Yeah. They almost unknowingly had things in order, so to speak. But it is, like I said, it's advised that people, just because I think you guys as well, we're all meeting some of the same people, so we could all help direct people to a good elder care attorney for a consultation, just for a review. It's not like you got to come out of pocket for a review. Just sit down for a consultation, show what you do and don't have, and at least see what you're facing and see what you need to put into place. And it will make not only their lives easier, but all of our lives easier to when the time comes to get them, even if it's in home care, everything's sort of ready if and when that time comes. So is there anything you guys would want to share to help families that are facing selling a home, they're facing placing a loved one in assisted living? What's some advice that you guys would give that they could kind of start thinking about and working on?
Well, like what you mentioned earlier was downsizing. So it doesn't matter how you go about selling your home, you're going to have to downsize one way or another. So getting in touch with somebody that can help you do it and have that conversation with your family. Because I think a lot of parents like to, they like to hold on to things that they think their children are going to want. And then their children really don't want it. And that's why the children never picked it up.
Yeah.
But they want to hold on to it just in case. So having that conversation and saying, like, let's go ahead and get rid of this stuff because we're downsizing.
Yeah.
And then having the discussion, the way Tom and I approach is we want to do what's best for our client, and taking it to the traditional market might not be best.
Right.
You may have, you may not either physical condition or, of the person who's trying to sell their house,
or the urgency of needing to cash out.
Yes. So that's why we work with investors to where that's another option. So you don't have to take it to the traditional market. Yeah. Or if you're like, I want to get the most amount out of this house, but I've got 1970 colors in my kitchen and it's not updated, then we have programs where you can update your home and really get everything out of it that you can.
And that's where we're so thrilled to be partnering with you guys.
Yeah. And that's what, Tom, you and I were talking talking earlier, and I think that's really exciting because, like you were just sharing, Tonya, there's a way for families to, again, that's what's so neat. If people would start slowly having the conversations and the plannings in place to where none of the obstacles of probate and wills and trust gets in the way, to where literally it's just a matter of going, okay, the time has come, we're ready to move into a community. And like you're saying, not only there's so much, there's a whole nother world out there outside of banks. There's so many creative ways through investors, like you and I were sharing with you guys about what we can offer together. Is you have a family that, man, you can see that they can get more for their house if they just did this and this and this, but they don't have the time or the money. That's where we step in with our program to be able to provide all the capital, all the contract, everything. They don't have to do a thing. And then we are able to increase the value of that property. And then when the property sells, we recoup our investment plus the agreed upon share in the increase in equity that creates. So everybody wins is the goal. So there's that. There's also, if you come across families that they're sort of needing in-home care, and that would be something that you would maybe list the house later, but you can start working with that family. We could do a sell and stay model, to where we purchase the house from them. They now have the capital to continue paying for care. And then if life takes its course, then you guys are there to help us, sell the house at that point in time, if need be, or whatever. But I think it's neat that this came up, because people need to realize you don't have to just rely on banks. There is a ton of money out there, and there's tons of creative entrepreneurs out there that will work with families for the best solution. So I think banks are becoming almost a secondary thing sometimes on certain situations.
Well, and to your point, I was speaking to one of the marketing directors for Summerbee, which is an assisted living, an independent living, and a memory care facility here, our community here in Tree City. And she was saying that they're like on a 6-month waiting list. And then they have, so then they have like 60 days, like when
their
one of
name
their,
comes up.
yes, to get everything done. Well, if you think about how it can take anywhere, depending on what market you're in, and ours right now, we could probably get a house sold in 2 weeks.
Wow.
But that's under contract in 2 weeks.
And right.
And then it'll take 30 days to go through the process, right?
Even with a cash buyer, you're still looking at another 2 weeks to close, because title search and things of that nature. So you're a month minimum.
Right. So with that being said, if you're getting on the wait list, now's the time to start talking about the downsizing or the upgrading or whatever.
And that is an awesome point. Like, really, it is. I mean, that's what I enjoy about having conversations like this, because this is available for people to come across and when they have time to look at it and review and go, I didn't really think about that, So like we've already, I know I repeat myself a lot, but can't stress enough, just start having the conversation. That's what I'm proud of my mom and dad for, is they did well. They started decluttering years back because they experienced it with their parents. So they went through that. And I'm thankful that they were proactive enough to think about us as their children, going, I tell them every day when they thank us and like they're some big burden. It's like, we're here for you. Like we're going to honor you, but I am thankful they took out long-term care insurance policy 20 something years ago. And that's the roll of the dice by the insurance companies, right? Is most people won't live long enough to use it, but they have a grandfathered policy to where there's no cap to it. So seeing that come into play at their age, to where now it's not a matter of the government waiting on you to go through everything you've worked long and hard before they step in and provide any assistance. They're able to lean on the insurance, get the care they're needed. But now that I'm able to, some of the investment properties I come across, and I see that, I guess let's call them professional collectors, right?
Yeah.
Another, verging on, hoarders, that there's literally a pathway through the houses. There's so much stuff.
Yeah, they're a trail house, right? It takes,
Yes.
There's literally a trail weaving through the house to get from one room to another, and that's where it can become dangerous. Somebody can trip,
Absolutely,
and it's sad because you don't want people to be to the point to where they're not proactive, they're reactive. Because if they fall, then they may not have the ability to go back in their house ever again. Like they fall and then they're not coming back. Well, then they've got to have somebody come in there and help them clean up the trail.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. It's funny, but it's not funny. But let's see. Go find it. I got to show you all this. Wasn't planning on doing this, but talking about falls. And I don't know if I'd shared with you guys when we had lunch together or not, but my mom fell last month, and I'd been sort of waiting on that day. And when it happened, it was just like, it was just sad. All right, here we go.
Right.
All right. So talking about falls, okay. My dad, 92 years old, and the other day they're sitting outside in the driveway. So I'll go out there to say, hey. And I'm always, trying to get mom to use a walker. It's like, it was just, she's been stubborn and hard-headed.
Yeah.
But dad's sitting there. Keep in mind, this guy could buy anything pretty much he wants. And so, let's see. I look down and look at the shoes he's wearing.
Oh my.
If that's not a fall hazard.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You classify people as fall hazard. Well, his shoes are fall hazard.
I said, Dad, are you kidding me? Like,
that looked like Tonya's golf shoes the last time we went and played. we hadn't played in 10 years, and they dry rotted, so the sole just came off.
But it's stuff like that. So when you're talking about the trail house, which is just fall hazards all over the place, and I'm sitting there going, I can't believe he hasn't failed. So I've got to do a covert operation and go steal the shoes and burn them or whatever.
Well, what did he say? Will they still work or something like that?
They're comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
I bet they are. They are well aerated.
And then I went out there the other day, and I'm sitting there, and I see them behind the love seat they sit on. So they're in the back, and in front is his brand new Air Jordan, whatever they were, brand new tennis shoes. And I'm sitting there. I think I know what it was now to think about it. He used to be an avid tennis player, so maybe those were the shoes that he used to wear before he was unable to continue playing tennis. So maybe it's what do you call it? Good memory for him or something.
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, well, guys, you have anything you like to share before we wrap up here?
I can't think of anything. I will say, whoever stumbles on this, make sure you get with a real estate agent who understands this senior community. Not everyone does. The National Association of Realtors actually has designations called senior real estate specialists. Both of us are a senior real estate specialist through National Association of Realtors. Because you can get with an agent who might not be able to point you, or have the community, the vendors, to point you to if you need help. So, and if you're in another state, we're happy for you to connect with us, because we do network with realtors all over the country, and we can find somebody who understands seniors and the senior community, and make sure you get hooked up with a real estate agent who can assist with that.
Yeah, I would just say feel free to reach out with any questions. We'd be happy to help you with anything. And thank you again for inviting us on. We're real excited and very happy to be in business with you guys.
Well, it's been a pleasure meeting you guys. I've already enjoyed meeting you. I'm looking forward to continue our relationship together in the near future to try to go out there and make a difference. I greatly appreciate you guys jumping on here. So it's Tom and Tonya Byrd with the Byrd Group, Keller Williams. There's our YouTube channel. Go check them out. And if they can help you, they will. So until next time, we will see you later.